Turkey, where history meets mystery. A virtual tour with Jim Willis and Dr. Mickey Pistorius. Part 2, Mount Nemrut. In 1881, a German engineer by the name of Karl Sester was surveying transport routes through what was then the Ottoman Empire. Local laborers shared some interesting news, which he subsequently reported. Although they couldn't identify the specific ancient routes he was looking for, they told him about some monumental statues that lay in ruins on Mount Nemrut. Motivated more by his own curiosity than professional goals, he hired a Kurdish man named Bako to show him the site. His reports were met with such interest that the very next year, the German Archaeological Institute formed a scientific expedition to investigate. Much of what we know today about the history of this important site is due to the work of these adventurers. Nemrut Dag illustrates a pristine example of what is called Hellenism. Up until the time of Alexander the Great and his conquests, pillage was the name of the game when it came to invading armies. But Alexander had different ideas. He was looking for something more permanent. After conquering a nation such as Anatolia, he left behind instructors who would superimpose Greek language and culture over that of the existing nation, in effect, making them Greek. The Greek language and system of political structure was the unifying thread that wove a world culture together. The Romans, who came along later, found it such an efficient system that they kept it in place as they conquered what was to become the Roman Empire. They even kept Greek as the official language of the land rather than Latin. It was all due to Alexander's penchant for Hellenism. Mount Nemrut, situated in southeast Turkey, bridges east and west, Europe and Asia. Built by the Hellenistic king Antiochus I, it was constructed in 62 BCE as a monument to himself and his own glory. He seemed to be well suited to the task because his father was Armenian and his mother was Greek-Syrian. He was thus biologically and emotionally the son of both East and West. Seeking independence from both sides, he literally transformed the entire top of the mountain with great statues and images that faced the rising sun over Asia and the setting sun over Europe. The fact that he built the monument on the highest mountain in his kingdom, even going to the trouble of placing it on top of an artificially constructed mound of crushed rock that towers an additional 164 feet high, and then building a statue of himself surrounded by gods, speaks to a cult-like religion at best. Similar, almost identical terraces facing east and west depict the pantheon of his religion. They are protected by a lion and an eagle. Huge limestone slabs feature sculpted relief images depicting a royal handshake between the Persian Antiochus and the Greek hero Heracles. Portraits of Antiochus's Greek, Persian, and Armenian ancestors remain unfinished. On the east terrace, a stone altar similar to a stepped pyramid implies that religious ceremonies were conducted here. The reason we know as much as we do about this site is because of an extended engraved nomos, or inscription in Greek, located on both the east and west terraces. It's perhaps best summed up by a brief quote. "Whoever shall presume to rescind or to injure or guilefully to misinterpret the just tenor of this regulation or the heroic honors which an immortal judgment has sanctioned, him the wrath of the daemons and of all the gods shall pursue, both himself and his descendants, irreconcilably with every kind of punishment." In ancient times, daemones, or demons, were considered to be guardian spirits, not necessarily evil beings, as was later the case. They were represented in the monumental statues which now form the central tourist attraction of the mountain. A careful examination of their names reveals elements of Zoroastrianism, as well as examples representing the Greek pantheon. To this is added the figure of the goddess, presumably to ensure fertility in the land. Some of the fallen sculptures have been deliberately disfigured, probably by later Christian and Muslims who were expressing their disdain for what they considered to be heathen idols or false gods. The image that has provoked more questions than any other is undoubtedly that of a bas-relief lion decorated with 19 stars that seem to reflect the constellation Leo. A necklace shaped like a sickle hangs from his neck, which probably symbolizes the crescent moon. 3 stars can be seen above its back, which are often interpreted as Mars, Mercury, and Jupiter. All this brings to mind the old adage, as above, so below. If this diagram actually reflects the positions of the heavens when the whole site was constructed, it adds fuel to the fires of astrological speculation about what essential but elusive meaning the builders sought to convey. It's a long walk up the mountain to see this site, but the view from the top is definitely worth it. And sunset atop Mount Nemrut is often the highlight of any trip to this area. Whatever it was that moved Antiochus to construct his monument, it certainly has stood the test of time. One can only assume that if he is somehow looking down on the thousands of tourists who flock here every year to pay him tribute, he is smiling.